what is a developer to do when the shoot 'em up they've been working so hard on simply isn't very good? Well, if you're the makers of the new Switch game Waifu Uncovered, then you add a bunch of naked anime girls to the background and shove it out the door for the low price of $7. Unfortunately, that's not the secret sauce to turn a bad game into something good. And this debut release from One Hand Free Studios is most definitely a bad game. In fact, I can safely say that this is the worst shoot 'em up I've played all year. Yeah, we gotta explore this. There's a story here, but honestly, who cares? There's something about aliens from outer space using infected clothing to turn pretty anime girls into ugly creatures. You travel around the world in one of 5 ships, shooting down pretty much anything that gets in your path and saving those women. Every level plays out pretty much exactly the same way. You see a fully clothed anime girl in the background who will slowly get undressed after each wave of enemies. First it'll be the jacket, then the skirt, then the bra, and so on and so forth. Once the girl in the background is naked, you'll fight a boss and move on to the next stage, where you'll once again pick between 2 different anime girls. Do this enough times and you'll save every waifu, as they call them, and unlock an Uncensored Mode. But we'll get to that in a moment. As a shooter, this one isn't especially unique. It's an overhead shooter, but you're not really flying towards anything. You're basically just hovering over an anime girl and shooting the enemies that fly into your view. The whole thing kind of feels stationary, with only the background moving. You'll pick up power-ups like a spread shot and a laser and shield and drone, all of which can be stacked and taken into the next stage. Between that and the powerful smart bomb that kills everything on screen, you'll get to the point where the game is too easy. I was able to clear the screen and defeat the bosses in mere seconds after only the 3rd stage or so, leaving me to be bored most of the time. The enemies are also pretty lame, but maybe that's the point. There are so many times when a troll face will show up and remind you that nobody's taking this very seriously, which is part of the reason why this shoot 'em up is so bland. The whole thing feels like a chaotic mess of memes and references, including an out-of-nowhere nod to the 1996 Tim Burton bomb Mars attacks. Remember that? I mean, if you're gonna go in that direction, then you probably should have leaned in a little harder. As it is, there isn't much about the combat that's gonna stick with me. The draw here is the nudity, but Waifu Uncovered is a bit of a tease. While you'll eventually unlock an Uncensored Mode, it's initially hidden away and left as something you'll need to unlock. The default censored mode reminds me a lot of the opening of Austin Powers, where items in the room are strategically covering up his dangling bits. The same thing is done here, with grass and rockets, and even Cheetos obscuring your vision. Now, if you'll recall, I did mention that players can unlock the uncensored version of the game. This removes the strategically placed objects and shows everything. This is, I have to imagine, the sole reason why somebody might buy this game. And for what it's worth, the nudity is all there. It isn't blurred or censored or even cropped off. There's just one problem. The uncensored version is currently broken on the Switch. Instead of letting you go through a full stage, it glitches out and shows you a frozen screen. Now, the developers have told me that this mostly happens when the system is docked and outputting at 1080p, so it could be that handheld players will never actually experience this problem. Thankfully, this will be fixed with an upcoming patch, though it's really hard to tell when that's gonna come. But look, even if the uncensored mode was working flawlessly, I'm not sure that's a good enough reason to buy this game. Guys, I get it. There will be a group of people who will call anybody that doesn't like this game a prude. The truth is, I have nothing against nudity, or porn, or even anime girls. What I am opposed to are bad shoot-em-ups that use sexy girls as a crutch for awful gameplay. If the core mechanics aren't good, then no amount of nudity is gonna help that. In a world where naked women are just a Google search away, I'm not sure why anybody would spend $7 on this cynical cash grab. Just buy a better shoot-em-up instead. How can a game with this much naked flesh be so boring? Waifu Uncovered is a limp and unfocused exercise in repetition that is never exciting enough to justify its existence. The real problem here is the shoot-'em-up action, which is slow and way too easy. What's especially disappointing is that it comes from publisher EastAsiaSoft, who has a pretty good track record when it comes to this type of game. I don't know what happened here. Waifu Uncovered is a shoot-'em-up made for people who couldn't care less about shoot-'em-ups. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now here's the question I have for you. What is your most questionable video game purchase? Look, I was a big fan of Square stuff coming out of the 16 and 32-bit generations. So I immediately bought The Bouncer on day one. It's like 40 minutes long and it's bad. Ooh, I still regret spending that money, even though it's been like 2 decades. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, I'm about to dig into a game called Paws and Souls, which looks promising. Look for my review shortly. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.